Hello everybody, Reaper X1 here again, and well, this is what we were working on. But as always, I would like to welcome you and thank you for joining me. Let's see if this is going to be as good a one as I thought it was going to be. Now you might see a couple little techs you've probably seen before. But this was the big idea we were working for. So hopefully you got your guesses in and see who, if anyone, was right by now. Because what we were building was a naval fleet. Because, well, I seen a little teaser at Water that was getting added into the game at some point while they're working on it. And, well, I just couldn't wait for Water to see how it was going to be implemented and if we're getting new blocks for flotation, so I just used hovers. But I wanted to make, like, my version of a naval destroyer. Now, the idea I had, or not a battleship. Well, a battleship, what I figure, it has multiple small vehicles in it, like you see, like, well, aircraft carriers, I guess. Maybe that'd be more along what this is, because it has airplanes on it, it has helicopters on it. We even got our little drones there. And there's a few extras, and you see the harvester right there for when we do make land. And it does anchor, but it also, you know, it has a kitchen. Well, our kind of a kitchen is a crafting resort, or a crafting component to it. We'll call that our recipes, our little kitchen, our mess hall. There we go. And yeah, it's got a ton of firepower on it. It's not the most firepower I could have fit on it, but I didn't want to overload it with guns. I wanted to keep it looking somewhat minimalistic, but still deadly. I thought that was the way to go with this one. But what I do got going on here is I got those resources are going crazy. But what I got here is I got enough silos, lots of silo, for each resource, and then one for components. In case you get scrap and blocks and you get components, we even have a spot for that. And we got one of each of the fabricators, so we can craft anything in the game. Now the one thing that kind of disappointed me is I tried using 8 component factories to speed things up. All it did was mess everything up. Things were getting confused, things were passing by other component factories, it wasn't working good. And I even had like all the dongles on all of them, so I could have easily picked and set it up to its best ability to make it as efficient as possible, but that isn't really how it's set up yet. So what I found is having 4 component factories. The first one with no dongles, the second one with just the basic dongle, the third one with the basic and the complex, and then the third one with all 3 dongles, all the way up to exotic. And that worked pretty good. And as you can see, we're crafting up. We already got what's it called? The Cerberus drill from Geocore. Now we're working on a big Bertha. So, you know, I'm trying to craft the hardest thing for each core. Now, it may be a skew that is the hardest for each core for a couple of them, but I know the missile has always been the hardest for Hawkeye, and I figured this gun here, it's the rapid cannon, it's probably one of the more complicated ones for Venture. I don't know, maybe the skew is there too, but if I can craft these, it should work and craft everything. Because I've always had issues with seed AI, and if I can craft seed AI for the cruise missile, it'll work on everything, I believe. Now, while I was doing this video, I kind of noticed that I got a few little design flaws, mainly with the terminals that I got right there. They kind of catch things and hang up on them, and the crafted blocks hang up on them. So I might have to do something there. And then the little second tech I got for my magnet, I might have to move it a little bit, just so it pulls away instead of down. So I'm kind of debating on what I want to do with that. Yeah, this isn't completely finished as of this moment, but it's at a point where I think it'd be a good test. And I was in the mood of making videos, so I did it. Now, if those resources would stop jumping at me, they kind of look like a cool equalizer effect kind of thing. But it's not really what I want to see in my build. And then after it's all said and done, you know, we even have the purge system there. so we can just get rid of everything we don't want in case we need to make money. Or now the only downside is we can't really individually get rid of any one of the silos resources. We have to empty them out. Like, say for that component one, if it was full and we wanted to get rid of them, we'd have to empty out the other ones, which is kind of a bad thing. But to make it fully independent on the silo end of it, it was just going to get too fugly. I didn't want to get into that. I wanted to keep it as compact as I could and still as effective as I could, and kind of looking a little bit like the bridge kind of idea of like a large ship. But I think it turned out pretty good. I don't really have an extensive naval knowledge of ships and whatnot, just what I've seen in movies and that. But I didn't really want to copy what I've seen in movies, because that's been done. That's not really what I like to do. I like that cool and original aspect of builds, you know? That's why I got started with the Saturday Showcase, to see all those cool and original builds. And if you happen to have some and you want to show them off, and you want a video of your own, all you have to do is go down to the description, find my Saturday Showcase auditions link, take your in-game snapshots of those cool and original techs or your save game with them in it, and post it there, and I'll make the best dang video I can out of it. Now the nice thing with this is it actually hovers at 75 feet. So I figure that's a pretty good start at getting over most hills. And hopefully, I haven't got it into the campaign yet. That's something I'm going to do eventually. Maybe creative mode, because that will be a lot easier. We're going to see how it handles terrain at some point. But I just wanted to get it all built up in here first. Now it'll cruise around at about 88 with the boost on. I didn't really use a lot of rockets. I wanted more duration and high speeds. But it does, what was it, 77? Okay, well, it does 87 with the boost. And it lasts for a fairly long time for the size of it. And I put a nice layer of fuel in that one, so I'm kind of surprised it does go as far as it does, but I'm not that surprised. I forget how many rockets I put on. I think there's like 20 rockets or something of the Hawkeye, the large ones. But yeah, it's got a bunch of firepower, and it only gets deadlier when you split this thing up. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to get back to the starting point there, and as you can see, it even turns fairly well too. And I didn't use any real steering boost or thrusters on it. I just used the hover wheel glitch, and then I just split my propellers from to side, so it gets more turning action out of it. But now, as far as anchoring, it can be a little tricky sometimes. I'm actually surprised it anchored like that, because usually I gotta keep clicking the anchor button so it'll do its little jump as it doesn't want to, and it gets up. And then when you let off, it sags way down, like the bounce on its return from the big bounce kind of thing. And then when it gets down to like 30 feet, then it'll anchor. That's one thing I was really kind of struggling with, is getting that to be reliable. But look at that, just annihilating everything. There's no stopping that. As you can tell, it's lagging a little bit. Oh! That is one dead brick. Woohoo! Just annihilated it. I'm liking this one. So what I think, there's all the little ones. Oh, that's the first time those have got hung up like that. The choppers usually fall off pretty good. Must be because I'm moving forward. There, we got them off of there. We got one chopper still stuck. But in all, we got 4 little drones. We got 2 boats. We got the harvester here. We got 2. Yeah, that was intended to be anchored when you deploy that truck, but it didn't take too much damage. But then it has 2 planes. What did I say? We got 2 planes, 2 choppers, 2 boats, 2 subs, 4 drones, the harvester, and then the main tech. So in all, that's 8, 12, 13, 14 techs in one. So I think that's pretty good as far as a deployable army, or the Fleet of Doom. I think that's what I was calling it. My version of a navy. So I just thought it would be just quite fitting just to try and use every type of tech we got here. Take out a couple targets. Oh, and he's helping still. Right on. I like you, buddy. Those little choppers are actually pretty fun. The boats are too, though. They seem to even act like a boat, you know? Like you're not going to just sharp turn like a car would. These little drones are funny. They kind of remind me of a little meatball. That's why you say meatball. We got the planes. Now we've seen all these already individually in their own video. But I thought it'd be good to have them all doing some work on their own here. Get that transferred over to a helpful AI instead of an idle one. But yeah, he's getting up there a little high, so he's not going to be as effective. Oh, that was the end of it. Yeah, we'll just lower down a bit. Oh, second run, buddies. Yeah, that turning really drops him down. And when you stop going forward, or backwards is even worse. That really lets him lose altitude. Uh-oh, we lost a wing. That's not a good one to lose either. Still flyable, though. Gotta love them gyros in a hover pad. There we go, we're clearing them out. So what I figured the main role of all the techs would be we got the planes and the choppers for air superiority. We got the subs and the boats in case we have water in the area. And well, they're good for ground support. We got this one for harvesting. And we got the little drones as our patrol or our scouts. And then we got the big tech over there. It can anchor and be our base. Now the one nice thing that I think would be awesome to have in this game is we could have a recall. So we recall all these techs, but we'd have to have them grouped to the big one. So it's like they will only be recalled to that one, and they would only stay around that big tech. They wouldn't follow me in this tech, but then have recall so they actually come back and reattach the way they originally started. That would be frickin' sweet. I would love to see that in this game. Like, for not just for these techs either, like for any tech that uses the explosive bolts. If we could have a recall so it could be repackaged up and then moved and redeployed, I think that would be the ultimate way to have those explosive bolts. Or another awesome option at least. Oh, I figure that's probably not an easy one. But I don't think it would be too extremely hard. You'd have to make sure you had enough bolts in your inventory, because they'd have to come from somewhere. They're not going to magically just give them to you. That would be a little over cheesy if they were freebies by that. But I think that'd be a really cool idea. So let's just check her out. Like, we know we can scrap with this big tech, and we know that we can craft, but it also, under that armor, it does have receivers. Now let's see if we can get her to anchor nice and easy for us. We'll get her stopped. Whoa, Bessie, settle her down. Wow, that worked pretty good that time, really. The hard part was getting it to balance. Because at one point, you unanchor, you could use the build beam, get it at its height, but it was always on an angle, so it would want to go either forward or back. But as you can see there, we got lots of receivers in there. And we actually got receivers on both sides, so if we had smaller harvesting techs, they could get underneath and fill that side up. And this thing, it does have a lot of firepower. Like, we got the bombs all the way around. Mostly on the sides, like even on the middle, where it tapers down to the middle, it has bombs. Which they have a weird thing to them too. They have an exceptionally large area that needs to be free of blocks before they'll fire. Like, I got the gaps above where those resources are traveling. If I put one more block in there, they're blocked off, even with like 12 blocks worth of distance between them. Which I thought was a little too far, but I guess that's just the way they are. I don't know if that's something that's going to change or not, but For now, we got her figured out to work for us. But that's my fleet of doom. And I think I'm going to cut this one right around in here. We got our techs doing their jobs. So until that next time, just keep being the awesome. Keep having a good one. You know what to do with the likes, the comments, the subscriptions, and the ding of the bell, right? So till then, bye.